All right, part 2 of March 2nd, 2026, beginning day 3 into the war. I guess this is going to be World War III. We'll see. I don't see any way they can stop this, and I see it growing. I see NATO getting involved right now this morning, and it hasn't even been 3 days. Also, as this is part 2 of our daily show for Behind the Galley Curtain, I'm going to turn it into a podcast for YouTube. This is information. So you probably want to go to listen to part 1. This is information that came out last night, U.S. time, Sunday night, into early Monday morning. Most of this stuff I'm getting off of several Telegram channels, news agencies from around the Middle East, etc. Take it for what it's worth. Do your own research. I always have to remind people, I'm not much of a conspiracy person, but I've caught our own government lying so much, not just about 9/11 and other things, but about everything that's going on right now as well. So I can just say, just do your own research and read with an open mind. And anything that you see, all of our media right now is Zionist controlled. So all of it. And now you're starting to see people like Alex Jones and Mike Adams and these people that are popping up now that are taking money directly from Israel. They're not to be trusted either. They're getting paid to lie to you, basically. Dan Bongino, big example of that. Very insane stuff going on there, trying to really manipulate people. So, without further ado, I have this gigantic file that I'd started from last evening late about what's going on with the war in Iran, but it's not just in Iran. It's the entire Middle East is coming apart right now. So where we left off was the European gas prices continue to rise. And this is like early this morning, U.S. time. They're already up to the 50% mark. And RJ, if you have the ability to keep an eye on maybe our oil prices or gold and silver prices, that might be kind of interesting to see what happens during this show. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, you will see that written as the IRGC, says this. Again, consider the source. We have launched approximately 3,000 first and second generation missiles so far, and will certainly use third and fourth generation missiles in the coming days. Those are the more advanced hypersonic maneuverable missiles. And they're using their first and second generation. If you've gone with the iPhone or iPad, you understand what the generation part is all about, right? So in other words, they're using their more basic, not so damaging first and second generation missiles, on all of these launches that you're seeing. 3,000 of them as of early this morning in the United States. The Spanish Prime Minister prohibits and forbids the United States from using Spanish military bases to launch attacks on Iran. This is kind of fascinating because you're starting to see now different countries, some in NATO, some not, step forward and pick a team, basically, because we're begging NATO to help us, and we're not even into this 3 full days yet. There are reports that Israel and the United States attacked Iran's heavy water nuclear reactor in Arak. A-R-A-K is the name of the city if you'd like to look it up, and I highly suggest you get a Google map going. Resulting in major explosions at the nuclear facility. If you're old enough to remember Chernobyl, that's probably happening as we speak. I haven't had time to dive into that any deeper, but this could be a nuclear holocaust. Greece enters the war. Greece is planning to send 2 warships after the attack on Cyprus by Iran. However, the attack, Israel claims, was not Iranian. It was the Lebanese Hezbollah. Wonder who really did it. It could have actually been a false flag just to get this kind of stuff going, to bring the Brits in, because the Brits weren't sharing their bases. Greece will defend Cyprus by any means necessary, says the Greek defense minister. Reuters agency is reporting work has been halted at the gas production platform in the Leviathan field. You could probably Google Leviathan field and see exactly where this is. And if you followed the Russia part of the Donald Trump era, you'll remember this from George Papadopoulos, the Leviathan field, which is operated by the Chevron company, big donors to Donald Trump. Iran, unlike the United States, has prepared itself for a long war. Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Larijani. We will fiercely defend ourselves and our 6,000 years old civilization, regardless of the costs. Donald Trump tried to come out yesterday, RJ, and say that Iran was begging them to negotiate. But the truth of the matter is, that guy right there, the truth of the matter is that they are done negotiating with us, as is Russia.
Well, the truth of the matter is the United States begged Italy to contact Iran, and they were begging them to negotiate.
Yes, and that was within the first 24 hours of this war beginning.
And Iran said no and hell no.
Yeah, it's wild what's happening here. You're being lied to just incredibly. Bloomberg reporting U.S. natural gas futures rise by 7.4%, and it's just getting started. In the part one of this daily show, we talked about Qatar shutting down their gas lines, their gas production. It's just shut down. Not only is the Strait of Hormuz basically shut down, it's actually being controlled, who can get through and who can't. But this is going to have a huge effect, and it's been having a huge effect by the hour this morning, our time, because Europe's ahead of us a little bit.
Well, that's very significant because it's Qatar that is the major gas field. They supply a great deal of natural gas to all of Europe.
Yes. So this is going to have huge effects on the world economy. I can't see any, there's no diplomats in the U.S. administration. We need somebody like Jeffrey Sachs to be on our team, but Trump won't put somebody like that on our team. They don't want to negotiate. They want to do this. And this is basically an attempt to take over the natural resources, including lithium, not just gas and oil. Iran's got a lot of other natural resources and rare earths that Trump administration and Israel want. They want to control it. Indications suggest that the drones targeting the British bases on the island of Cyprus were launched by Hezbollah. Now, again, this story changed because Israel has been, since last night, bombing Lebanon, claiming they're killing all the Hezbollah, just like they claimed the infants were all Hamas in Gaza. And they are basically doing the same type of thing. They bombed an elementary school, girls' elementary school, and then they bombed a hospital in Tehran. This morning I woke up, they bombed a children's playground in Tehran. This is what they did. This is genocide. They're trying to genocide a city of 9 to 10 million people, a country of roughly 95 million people. It's a huge country, huge country. But keep in mind, Reuters is also Zionist-controlled media. So AP, all these places, you're going to get a very slanted viewpoint. And I'm sure the truth lies somewhere in between. So you just kind of have to go with it. But when you catch your president lying to you constantly, you just know he's not telling you the truth. So you can easily go on. All these people are on Twitter, X, and other platforms. You can go and follow them, follow along. I follow Syed Mohammed, Professor Marandi on social media. So, he's over there. He's a professor at I think, Tehran University. So over in France now, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, has announced that France will increase their number of nuclear weapons and will no longer disclose how many it has. Are they then leaving the nuclear non-proliferation treaty? Because I think that's part of the treaty. Imagine that. But just last week, before this war broke out, France and the United Kingdom were claiming to be giving Ukraine nuclear weapons and the delivery system. You see where we're going, right? Yeah, everybody can see this. Well, this is like a bad movie at this point. Hebrew media out of Israel. It can now be officially stated the Israeli army has launched the fourth and final Lebanon war. That's why they needed the drone to be from Hezbollah. See how it works? The goal to destroy the military capabilities of the Hezbollah. The Revolutionary Guard says that we hit 500 targets of America and Israel so far. Now I'm going to pull up that's the kind of end of my file, and I'm going to pull up my Telegram and just kind of check on stuff that's coming live and hot right now, because there is so much stuff happening. I mean, when I woke up the other morning to like 3,500 Telegram messages, I was like, war has started. Something bad has happened while I slept for about 4 hours. Pretty crazy. They have been carpet bombing Tehran all morning. It looks like there's a video here. They still are. It's a huge city. I have been there. It's a huge city. This would be very equivalent to maybe New York City. It's just huge.
Now, when you say carpet bombing, you said earlier that they're not flying military planes over Iran.
Yeah.
So they're sending missiles into Iran.
Apparently, according to Alistair Crook, if you missed the part one, we recommended you listen to Alistair Crook on the Judging Freedom, Judge Napolitano YouTube channel this morning, Monday, because he's in Lebanon. He's in Beirut, actually. So, and they've been since last night late just going after them. That's why they needed to change the whole thing in Cyprus at the British base. They needed to change that from Iran to Hezbollah. That's just how they work and how they manipulate the news. And that's why, like I say, you just have to be very careful. Here's the fuel tanker Athena Nova is still burning in the Strait of Hormuz after being hit by 2 drones, according to the IRGC. Now, I don't know about this one. This is kind of new. This is all happening. It says complete air superiority over Western Iran. A low-flying U.S.-Israeli drone. And now, the drones can get through the air defense systems. And that's what you're seeing a lot happen at all of our bases. These Shaheen 136 or 139 drones, Iranian drones, are getting through. So a lot of this stuff that's happening are from missiles and drones. A low-flying U.S.-Israeli drone can be seen operating slowly over Shiraz in western Iran, launching projectiles, not a single air defense in sight. Well, they're really hard to shoot down. And Israel's having a real hard time shooting Iran's drones down as well. And also, I saw earlier this morning that the U.S. and Israel are both having to ration their air defense missiles because they're running low already. And we are just beginning day 3. Reports of Israeli strikes against Lebanon starting again, but they've had a lot of them. The IDF recently carried out a targeted attack on another senior terrorist in Beirut. This is the Israeli Defense Forces claiming. But again, they claim that every infant in Gaza was a Hamas. So what are you going to do when you have people thinking like that? Let's see what else I see. The U.S. consulate in Erbil, Iraq, was attacked by 3 Iranian drones all were intercepted. They are being under attack by Iraqis, actually, now as well, because through this, Trump has managed to glue together pretty well Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan, all on the same team. So it's kind of getting to be the whole world picking a team here. And Trump calling in NATO for help, that doesn't look good, does it, RJ? It does, especially before he did that in like the first 24 hours. And Iran's not even using their good stuff yet. They've thrown, I think, 2 hypersonic missiles out.
Well, I think within 24 hours he realized he was outgunned. And so he was calling in reinforcements.
So Donald Trump spoke this morning. I honestly can't listen to him anymore, but I'm going to read you something that just came out of his speech, I guess. President Trump told the New York Post this morning, this would be Monday morning, March 2nd, that he is not ruling out boots on the ground in Iran. Quote, I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground. Like every president says, there will be no boots on the ground. I don't say it. That's his quote. So let me just brief you. I think Iran is 4 times the size of Iraq, and we spent 20 years there, and I don't know how many injuries and deaths by American soldiers fighting for Israel. We're going to have to initiate the draft, and I expect that'll happen this week.
Also keep in mind, Iraq is basically a desert.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see as far as you can see, and that's how far you can drive. Iran's not a desert. I mean, there are places where it is a desert, but it's extremely mountainous. And the terrain in Iran is so much different than what anything the United States has been used to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So you have to wonder, Donald Trump, remember just barely 2 months ago when this whole thing started. Now we found out, I think Alistair Crook was talking about this, that Bibi Netanyahu told Donald Trump this is what they were going to do when he was visiting Mar-a-Lago on New Year's Eve. So all of the, quote, negotiations by that snake, Steve Witkoff, and his sidekick serpent, Jared Kushner, 2 rabid Zionist Jews. All of the negotiations over the, quote, nuclear deal with Iran and the missiles and whatever was a sham. He knew all along he was going to do this. And for those of us paying attention to the military radar, all of this was build up. And we saw January 13th, Trump had airplanes in the air. We were watching, RJ. I remember it because it was exactly 6 months from June 13th when we launched on Iran last time, the 13th of January, and those airplanes were in eastern Iraq. And we were seeing it on Telegram that people were reporting these fighter jets were on their way to Iran and they were called back. Bibi called them back. Trump's not doing any of this. Bibi's in total control of Trump. Now, there's a lot of speculation on social media that the reason is that there's some really, really bad stuff on video or photographs of Donald Trump with children. And it's so bad that he will just allow World War III to start. And all of these killings. Now, Israel's involved when they bomb a girls' elementary school and then a maternity hospital in Tehran. They're also doing something else that we saw during their attempted color revolution in December, January. They're bombing the police stations and security stations as if anybody went to work in those places. I just can't imagine anyone in Iran, any police officer saying, okay, well, we'll all be meeting at the building, right? We'll all be in there. But through the whole evening last night, there was launches of missiles going into Israel, into the bases, into Iraq, I can't imagine any of our bases being able to even launch airplanes. I did see they were evacuating some U.S. military out of Dubai. A lot of them had been put up in those 5-star hotels, and they got hit. They got hit by drones mostly. A couple, I think, were hit by missiles from Iran, because that's where we're housing the CIA and the intelligence people that are planning and orchestrating this war. And the military officers. Also, let me just see. I'm going to open up another Telegram channel here, because there's 150. Since I sat down about an hour ago, there's 156 comments or postings on this just one channel that I follow. So let me see if there's anything worth talking about here. I'll just kind of scroll through. All right, so hot off the press here on Telegram, the remaining facilities in the U.S. Naval Fleet, this is the 5th fleet that was housed in Bahrain, were bombed by 6 drones and were destroyed. So you can see there's issues happening constantly now, and those were the sites. This base was the main site, and they really have really worked on this one for the last 24 hours at least. This is where they would have come in for all of their supplies for the U.S. Navy, the 5th Fleet.
Can you use the word obliterated?
It kind of doesn't have a meaning anymore. It's kind of like racist, right? It's kind of wild. The Israeli news is reporting that Israel is bombing security and military sites on the border with Iraq. They're doing this, excuse me, to allow the, Iranian Kurdish opposition, the opposition to Iran, to enter Iran by land and hopefully act as terrorists. Now another thing that people have discovered is that Israel's been behind Al-Qaeda and ISIS all along. And that is one of the things I found when I did a deep dive into 9/11. Is I discovered that it's a CIA MI6 Mossad, mostly Mossad operation. So the 19 weren't really Arabs. They were Mossad operatives. They didn't get on the planes. And Al-Qaeda was their baby, and that's how they operate. Then they created ISIS, and if you don't believe me, go look and see who the president of Syria is right now. And I had read this years ago while really researching 9/11, is whenever an ISIS terrorist got injured, they were brought to Israel for hospitalization and recuperation. What does that tell you? Well, they've been running these terrorists so they could get them to go in and do something and then overreact. So they are bringing in ISIS terrorists and the Kurds to go do some dirty work. This is going to be a very, very, very ugly situation. What's unfolding, and it's unfolding very rapidly, RJ. Very, very rapidly. This is happening at breakneck speed here.
Well, I think what some of the pundits have said is it's getting out of control. And if you can't control it, you don't have no idea where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And that's actually what you were experiencing. We can see that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't understand this. Larry Johnson does. If you follow Larry Johnson, his YouTube channel is Counter Currents. He's on with Judge Napolitano. He's on with Daniel Davis Deep Dive. He's on with Nima Al-Khurshid at Dialogue Works channel on YouTube. He's explained really well, and since I've been there, I can tell you it's a huge country. And the biggest problem we have now, once the Tomahawks, if all we're using is Tomahawks right now, within the next day or two, we're going to have to start flying airplanes over, and they're going to be shot down, and pilots are going to be taken prisoner. It's going to turn really, it's going to be a fiasco worse than I think anything I've seen now. I go back to the Vietnam War, okay? So been there, been through a few of these. This is the biggest it's just like if you see a big pile of poo, you just have to step in it. It's just like you can't help but step in it now. It's going from bad to worse, as they say.
Well, the Vietnam War wasn't a war with modern equipment like we have now. And so when you look at the Vietnam War, it was antiquated to where we are now. We didn't have the kind of missiles that we have. We didn't have the kind of radars that we have. Mm-hmm. We didn't have the kind of aircraft that we have now.
Yeah.
And so this is on a scale so much larger than anything the United States has ever faced, ever. And we've never fought against an opponent that has this kind of defense ability or offense ability.
Yeah, we haven't been fighting a military, and Iran is a real military.
I mean, Larry Johnson refers to it as all we've been doing is beating up kids in wheelchairs.
Pretty much. Killing girls in an elementary school. It's pretty bad. This morning they attacked a child's playground. I haven't seen the death rate from that one, but I'm sure they killed some more kids. The IRGC, this is Islamic Republic Guard, it's often referred to as by the letters. Their public relations has just announced, now we talked about the 10th wave last hour, but while we were recording that show, we are now at the 12th wave of attacks coming, and they will focus on enemy positions in the maritime domain. That sounds like ships to me. Ports and ships will likely see more attacks against U.S. military vessels, they go on to say. So things are going to get very interesting, and I just kind of wonder, here's an interesting thing. I did see a video last night where they claimed 3 Americans were killed in Kuwait, at a base in Kuwait, and 5 were injured, seriously injured. I saw a cargo plane. I just saw the rear end of it coming to Dover, I guess, offloading flag-draped caskets. No President Trump there, nobody there to meet them, just a couple military guys in salute. And the thing that I found interesting was they had claimed, the news is 3 were dead, but I could clearly see 3 flag-draped coffins and 2 men coming out, or maybe there's 4 men coming out with another flag. That means 4 dead. So we're not getting the truth. And I have seen coming out of Iran, they're claiming that 560 Americans have been killed. I don't know if that is true or not. But I know that Donald Trump is not being honest with us. And Pete Hegseth, I don't know why did I want to call him Nick. Pete Hegseth is just insane. The stuff he says both him and Trump are saying, I don't know what this is. It's kind of like phrases, or they're repeating headlines they want to read or something, but it's not anywhere close to reality. It's like a sing-songy phrase. But you have to wonder now, this whole thing started out, we're coming to help you. Stay where you are. Overthrow your government. Donald Trump came out over the weekend and told the Iranians, and there were tens of thousands of Iranians in the street mourning the assassination of their religious leader, Khamenei. He's telling them, overthrow the government. That's how out of touch this guy is.
Well, what's really interesting is if you watch the Iranians, they're out in the street mourning their supreme leader that was killed, knowing full well that Tomahawk missiles can come in at any moment and
some
destroy
of them got hit.
Many of them, and many of them have died as a result. But what's happening in Israel? They're all in the bunkers because they're afraid.
Afraid of dying.
The Iranians are not afraid. They're not afraid. And when you face something like that, you're going to lose if you are afraid.
Yeah. Donald Trump came out this morning, and what he's been saying is the U.S. was nearly under threat from Iran.
That doesn't even make any sense.
Nearly. Oh, the man his health is going bad fast. It is nearly under threatened. Is that the same as nearly under pregnant? Is that barely pregnant, Dawn? Nearly under threat. whoever's writing his speeches, wow.
He looks more orange than I ever remembered him, even when they called him Orange Man.
Yeah, it's
I mean, his hair is orange. It's not blonde anymore. It's truly orange.
And now he's saying, originally, we talked about this last hour, that he was going to have this done in 4 days. This Donald Trump said the U.S. had predicted the operation against Iran would take 4 to 5 weeks, but there was potential for it to be extended. Now he's talking about maybe boots on the ground.
Talk about backpedaling. That's
wow.
Pure, unadulterated reverse.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? The guy is just speaking nonsense. What's this one say? There's another. I'm just scrolling through a channel on Telegram. I'll tell you the name of the channel. It's Victor Victop 55. This particular one. They're just kind of scrolling up to. This is just hot off the press stuff. We're going to finish off this second hour. But I just want to preserve some of this stuff just because we're living history right now. This war, they can't pull back from this. I know that the British have said that they plan to use a nuke on Iran. And I think that has potential, RJ, to turn the whole world into a nuclear war. What do you think? I mean, how are you going to respond as a world if somebody doesn't stop this?
Well, you've mentioned this before. When we launched nuclear weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II, we were the only ones that had them. So nobody was going to send a nuke back at us. Not true today. There's, a half a dozen countries or more that have nuclear weapons, and they can all be involved. And they don't just have one. They've got thousands.
Thousands. It's interesting. It says this little snippet says, Trump added in an interview with CNN that Iran's strikes on Arab countries, Iran is striking the U.S. bases that are on Arab countries. So let's put all the details out there, Don. Were a surprise to him. He obviously wasn't listening because for the last at least 3 months, Iran has been saying, if you attack us, we will attack. We can't reach America, so we will attack your bases. They've made it very clear. And what they're trying to do is twist this to say they're attacking the Arabs so they can push the divide and conquer Arab versus Persian, because they were getting to be pretty friendly. So how can he be surprised? Is he not listening, or are the people that are guiding him, are such Zionists, are not telling him that this was going to happen?
Well,
you do have to wonder.
This is exactly the same thing that he'd been doing with Russia. Russia had been telling him for years, and particularly in the last 3 years, what they needed to end that war. They had some demands, and those demands had to be met. And Trump ignores them. All he wants to talk about is a ceasefire, and they say no ceasefire. So when Iran comes out and says, we're going to bomb your bases if you attack us, Trump pays the same attention to that noise. And so I have a really good suspicion that his ears are painted on. They're not really attached to his brain.
Yeah. Here's a comment that Victor Victop made on the Telegram channel after Trump's speech this morning. I can't listen to him anymore. I just can't deal with the lies. I read these kind of comments and I'm like, gosh. His voice just makes me sick. The U.S. doesn't want a change of government in Iran. Well, it's all about regime change now. So he actually said this. Trump doesn't care about the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Well, let's just stop for a second right there. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz has already increased the price of gas and oil globally. There's predictions, and I've had chats with AI about this, that instead of the $60 a barrel we were at a couple weeks ago, that the price of oil could go to $200 or $300. So Qatar just hours ago has completely stopped all production of natural gas. They supply Europe. What is Europe going to do? This is crazy. Don doesn't care about that. He doesn't care if that causes your eggs to go to $500 a dozen. He doesn't care how much anything costs for you. He's a billionaire. He could give a rip about you. Iran's strikes on U.S. military bases in the Middle East came as a surprise to Trump. Victor Victop writes, what's the goal of this war? Do they want to completely destroy Iran like Gaza? In my opinion, Victor Victop writes, the U.S. still in the middle of one of not their wars in Ukraine has entered another war that is not theirs and that they don't need. That's how hegemons end their existence. We are in a war for the state of Israel because they want everything Iran has. But more than that, I see this is and this kind of parallels with the Epstein files and what we've seen in the release so far in the Epstein files. And there's got to be something much more horrible than what we've read. And I can't imagine what that could be. That the Israelis are holding over Donald Trump to get him to go to this extent. And we're not even in it 3 full days at this point. So one of the people who really are going to gain from this is Russia. Because as the price of a barrel of oil goes up, they're going to be making tons of money. Now, just months ago, you heard Donald Trump trying to do everything he could to make it so that nobody could buy any oil from Russia. So you see what's happening here? It's like, it's beyond pretzel logic at this point. It's like, it's almost like reminds me of when I first started flying in Japan, they had these machines, like a pinball machine kind of thing that had hundreds of little stainless steel balls in it called pachinko machine. They had ball, halls of these machines up, they're kind of a glass encased machine full of balls. Like a pinball machine, you could get them all rolling. They went everywhere. And that's kind of where Donald Trump is right now. We're coming to save you. We bombed a children's school and now a playground and a maternity hospital. Here I come to save the day. I guess that's Donald Trump right there. I mean, I don't want him to save me. This is absolute insanity. Let me just see who else has got some information for us here. Okay, so here's another interesting story. We talked about this, I think, in the first hour as well. While I was sleeping, and I only slept for a few hours. So, I mean, I just could not stop watching this, and I could not keep my Telegram channels, my notifications down. It was just crazy. But I did fall asleep for a couple hours, and when I woke up, when I went to sleep, I had seen like a rumor. And I just look at, when I first see things come out on Telegram, I don't believe much on Twitter. There's a lot of just bad stuff on Twitter, just nonsense. But if I see it there, I'll go to Telegram and see if I can reconfirm it with some news agency or somebody on the ground. But they had shot down, or we had seen, and I had actually seen this, but I didn't know what it was. And there was just a video with no explanation of an airplane coming down in a flat spin on fire. And I thought, well, gosh, it kind of, at first I thought it was an F-35, and I thought, where is this? Blue sky for sure. And it was somebody was filming from the ground, and they were watching this thing come down in a flat spin, and you could definitely see fire. The second one I saw had even bigger fire. It was a bigger fireball coming down. I saw the pilots eject and their parachutes open. And then I saw one video, and I hadn't put all these together yet, of some the pilots, when they eject, they have that like a air face mask thing on. Like if you saw a Top Gun, the part of the helmet and the face mask, the breathing apparatus in a long tube. Well, all of that goes with them. So they come out, they still have their seatbelts on and their flight suits on, and they look like aliens, right? So I saw this Arab guy, and they landed in Kuwait. This Arab guy coming, he had a big stick right behind him. He was ready to, and the U.S. Pilot was holding his hands up like, don't shoot. But I thought, my gosh, The guy, if you looked at him without knowing he was a pilot that had just ejected, his parachute was right there. You would think this guy was some kind of alien being with this long tube coming out the front of his face. It was kind of wild. He's like, no, don't hit me. One of the pilots I saw was a woman. But then I started to see, putting all these things together early this morning, that there's 3, I believe, aircraft down, 6 pilots all ejected safely. But then I started to see that there was talk of friendly fire, and like at our base in Kuwait. And so I thought most of the Americans had been evacuated, but maybe not all of them. But then they started to say that they were allegedly shot down by a Russian S-300 air defense system. So if you get your Google map out, you can see that you can kind of see at the distance here for if Iran over on their border, which is the border of Iraq at Kuwait, you can see it's at the very north end of the Persian Gulf is where they would have had this air defense system. The range of the target at the time was allegedly 240 kilometers. Iran possesses one of the most advanced export versions of this S-300 Russian air defense system. Now, the U.S. government and I guess Kuwaiti government are saying it was friendly fire, but how could we shoot our own airplane down? They would have a transponder, friend or foe. This could be, is there total incompetence here, or are they don't want to admit that that Iran has this technology?
Well, shooting down one plane with friendly fire might be a mistake.
Yeah,
but not 3.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really wild. Now, apparently Pete Hegseth, he really loves to get himself on a microphone. This guy is such a cock-of-the-walk character. He said some interesting things in a speech this morning. He said, this isn't a so-called regime change war. Oh, that's news to me, because that's what it is, and that's what they've been actually saying it is for the last couple weeks. Well, we're no longer going to save the protesters and save all those oppressed Iranian people. No, we're bombing them. This is crazy. This isn't a regime change. That's all this is a regime change. They want to actually break up Iran, they call it balkanization, into small countries that Israel and the United States can power over after they do what they did to Gaza and disarm the people and take away their missiles of self-defense. That's what this is all about. I don't think it's going to happen, quite frankly. I do know a little bit about the Persian culture. I don't think this is going to be successful. I spent pretty good amount of time in Iran. I don't think this is going to be successful for them to be able to take 47 years of this culture out of this 5,000-6,000 year old culture group of people. I don't think they're going to be able to do this. That's just my personal opinion. Just don't think they're going to succeed. But why would he say that, RJ? He says this isn't a so-called regime change war, but the regime has definitely changed. And the world is better for it. We didn't start this war. Who did? Who's he trying to claim started this war? We started this war. We bombed Iran. Somebody going to tell this guy? Is he drunk? But under President Trump, we're ending it. Well, this is interesting because Donald Trump was begging through Italy for a ceasefire within 24 hours. Because somebody got to tell Donald Trump the truth, and we aren't going to win this war. And you're going to hear that from a lot of people that are much more educated in the military capabilities of the United States than I am. So scrolling up along still, I'm on Victor Vic Top 55's Telegram channel. Here's the next person. Republican Congressman Turner, I think his first name is Mike, said that U.S. had no intention of changing the Iranian regime, but was simply bombing it. Like they accidentally assassinated. Donald Trump came out 2 weeks ago and threatened the life of the religious leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei.
You know, I think you'll find as we move closer to the midterms and the Democrats become really interested in winning those midterms, which they're not going to have any trouble at all doing. Obviously, they're going to do that. But they will push this, and they will push the narrative that Donald Trump started this war. He had no reason to be in this war. He failed in this war, and we got our butts kicked in this war. That's what they will say. And then if they win the midterm, that lines up perfectly for him to be impeached, not only impeached, but convicted.
And removed.
And removed. And then maybe even civilly prosecuted or criminally prosecuted, which is separate from impeachment. Impeachment is civil. But he could be criminally prosecuted for treason.
Yeah, what's interesting is that Donald Trump, even out of his own mouth, remember after New Year's, maybe after the last visit, when was that last visit? February something, when Netanyahu came around Valentine's Day, I believe it was around that second week in February. Donald Trump came out of that and he kept saying, and the media kept repeating, I will be the one to decide. Me, it's my decision. Me, my, oh, fee, fi, fo, fum. And that this is unusual that somebody would have to repeat that. And it's just like what the Zionists do whenever they say Iran, they say the foremost of what do they call? They say it's the
number one
sponsor of terrorism around the world, which is not true at all. Larry Johnson will reconfirm that with U.S. data from the State Department and other places. So Sean Hannity, for example, can't say Iran without saying that. It's like a sing-song. And you'll see that every Zionist-controlled politician in this country cannot say Iran. Now that I bring this up to you, you won't ever hear them say Iran without saying the major sponsor of terrorism around the world. You'll hear it from Donald Trump. You'll hear it from J.D. Vance. All of these people do the same thing, and it's a form of brainwashing. Bibi Netanyahu. Now, I want you to pay attention to this because the British, through one of Danny Davis's British guests who would know, the British are saying that there is an intention right now going in before this war started, the day before actually. I think it was Thursday or Friday. Before anything happened, before any missiles launched, British intelligence had informed this guy that they intend to use a nuclear weapon on an Iranian military site. There's many of them. It's a huge country. Remember, it's the size of Washington, Idaho, Oregon, California, and Nevada, maybe even parts of Utah. It's all, that much of our country is the size of Iran. So there's a lot of military bases. I bet if you counted up our military bases in all of those states, there's a lot of them. Same with Iran. But I want you to pay attention to this because keeping that in mind, that British intelligence knows that they intend to do this before any missiles launched, maybe a day or two. I heard this. Netanyahu claims that a nuclear Iran would threaten all of humanity. This is the guy who has the Samson option, who has threatened to nuke recently Florida. Bibi Netanyahu. Well, Israel protects many people. Who? Just the Israelis. They won't even let foreigners into their bomb shelters. Can you believe this? That he thinks that if Iran has a nuke, now they killed the Ayatollah who wrote the fatwa to not allow the military or the government of Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And there's a huge difference between a nuclear power plant, a nuclear medicine, and a nuclear weapon. Israel has nuclear weapons. They won't let anybody inspect. There's word they have 200. And guess what? They are all aimed at major U.S. cities and major European cities because their Samson option, this is a book written by Seymour Hersh. The Samson option is when they start to go down, and they could this week, they're going to launch nukes. They're going to take everybody down they can. You should read that book. I'm pretty sure it's online in the archives, the Samson option. Yeah. So he doesn't want Iran to have them, boy, because that. Now keep this in mind because I just said this. British intelligence knows that Netanyahu and Donald Trump are planning to use a nuclear weapon. They just bombed I haven't seen confirmation of this, a active nuclear power plant like Chernobyl. Come to mind if you're too young to know what happened with Chernobyl, you better Google it. Spain has withdrawn American tankers, not wanting to expose itself to any attack. According to Reuters, Madrid's refused to participate in the war against Iran and demanded the removal of all American tanker aircraft from its territory. You're starting to see a big split, RJ, in these NATO countries. The people are picking their team now. They don't want to be a part of this. And there's a reason for that. Because if this isn't stopped, if somebody doesn't stop Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu soon, we will be in a full-blown nuclear war, including on the U.S. soil. That's where this is leading. And when you look at it, we don't have anybody in the Trump administration, certainly not in Israel. Peace is a bad word now. We don't have any diplomats. We don't have anybody that'll rein this in. And Trump has made a huge mistake by not listening to his military people. Just the other day, we talked about this on the Daily Show, RJ. Forget it. I think he was a vice admiral, but I'm not positive. Could have been a admiral, rear admiral. But he was on the staff of the Joint Chiefs, and they fired him because he spoke the truth. This is not, you can't go in there in 4 days and do this. You couldn't do it, any foreign country couldn't do it to the entire western part of the United States in size, where you speak the same language. That haven't been, Iran's been preparing for this attack by Israel and the United States for 47 years. They're prepared for a long fight. Let me just say this because I flew around the world for a living. I thought nothing, literally didn't even cross my mind to go to China or to say, you know what, I'm going to go to Paris for the weekend and go eat dinner somewhere or go to Germany because I felt like having some really good German food. I'd just get on an airplane for $10 and go, or ride free on a jump seat. When I was in Iran, you are so far away from, it's a very lengthy journey to get there. I flew to Japan and China and places for the weekend. It's a long way too. But in Iran, it's complicated to get there. It's just not a threat to us. And how anybody, Donald Trump a month ago was saying Iranians were evil people. And then a couple of weeks ago, he decided they were beautiful people. They were wonderful people because they had the Shah's son all ready to go and he'd been over kissing the wall in Israel. Remember? So is it all coming together now? He was pro-Israel like that lady in Venezuela, or there's the guy in Argentina. Yeah, the wall kisser, the Mexican chick. If you kiss that wall, you're okay with Donald Trump, man. This is another statement he said, and I am here to tell you, if you believe this, I got a bridge to sell you. Here's a quote from Donald Trump. "We're beating them, Iran, half to death." I think it's going very well. Was it bombing the elementary school full of girls, Dawn? Was that what makes you feel powerful? Or was it the children's playground this morning, Dawn? Or how about the maternity hospital, Dawn? You can't believe anything. This guy, he's starting to sound more delusional. But you see, now all of the media that hated him the first time around, they're all controlled by Larry Ellison, Ellison's family. Zionists controlled all of it. And so he's doing the bidding of Zionist Israel, and they all love him. Has anybody besides me noticed that Donald Trump is the apple of all of the media's eye, and they're all spreading the same lies about this war for him, for the state of Israel? Are you going to give up your grandkids, RJ, to go fight this war? And how fast do you think this Zionist-controlled Congress and Senate of the United States will initiate a draft? Because he's talking boots on the ground, and we're not 72 hours into this war yet. What do you think? Can I get it done by Friday?
Of course not. And they're not ever going to get it done because we're going to lose this conflict. It's not going to happen. No matter what he thinks, no matter what he says, this is not going to go in favor of the United States. And we haven't even talked about the economic war that's going on with our debt and how that's going to affect us. We haven't even scratched the surface there. But this is going to accelerate an already out of control accelerated debt. And it'll just be a total unmitigated disaster.
It is. Right now I'm looking... I'm on a different Telegram channel right now, but I'm looking right now at Tehran Live right now, 2 videos. Massive pro-government crowds are out in the streets. Again, they are being bombed. These people do not fear death. It's an honor. It's an honor to be martyred. So this is a mentality. This is a level of spirituality that no one in this country, unless they're from there, can really grasp, can really understand. Now, there's interesting things going on, and now that we know about these latex masks, I don't know for sure what to believe, but Bibi Netanyahu's aircraft left when the fighting started around the same time, shortly thereafter. He left and flew. They circled Cyprus, and they flew to Germany, to Berlin. We watched a bunch of us in the chat room watched it on radar to see where he was going. I didn't see his airplane come back, and I've looked periodically from Germany to Tehran. It's a pretty long flight. I just never saw it return, but we're seeing him now, or someone who has his similar hair or is wearing a mask, walking around the streets. Now, again, if you're not familiar with how the CIA has had these latex masks that are so real that, there's a lot of people that are pretty convinced that Joe Biden wasn't really Joe Biden, especially the 7-foot guy that came out that time. I'm not sure what's going on with Bibi. I don't know. Why would he fly his plane to Germany and not be on it, which some people are saying. His headquarters were hit with a hypersonic missile, I guess last night our time. There's been some military leaders killed from these bombings in Israel. And again, like I said, these masks, they're so good. And if you watched any of, I think they're all I'll ask you because you're the movie guy, RJ. On the Mission Impossible, do they all use this mask? Pretty much?
That's part of the franchise. You got to have the mask.
Okay, so those masks are real, and they've been real since about the mid-1980s. They've been so real that the lady and her husband, both CIA disguised people, that fascinating book, I can't remember the name of her book. I have it on my bookshelf. Joanna Menendez. Is that what it is? Menendez. And her husband, Tony, who's passed away. But they went to Hollywood to learn how to do this. And they make, those masks are real that you see Tom Cruise use in those Mission Impossible movies. So it's very, very likely that this person who's walking around the ruins we just saw this morning could be somebody wearing a Bibi Netanyahu mask. Now, I don't know why his airplane would fly without him, and I don't know why they circled and they weren't given permission to land, and then they eventually went to Germany. I don't have an explanation. I've been watching. It's possible that I missed his plane coming back to Israel, but it's a possibility that that's really not him. So I think we're starting to see a major degree, a level of panic and insanity, because this is a regime change war. And so why are all these people backpedaling this morning saying that's not what they're doing when they're trying to kill the regime? By the way, they tried unsuccessfully to kill the former president, Ahmadinejad. He's alive. They announced for a good day that he was dead, but he's alive. This morning he's alive. His family came out and said, no, he's alive. A lot of people in Iran have other places to go. They don't just have one house. So, may not be a chateau or a Mar-a-Lago, but it's another structure they might want to visit or go to for the summer or winter or what have you. So to get out of the city, that is not uncommon. It's not uncommon for people to have drivers there because they don't drive. Like in New York, I guess. Very similar. Huge city. But it's interesting because we tried to kill Pezeshkian, the elected president, and as much of his government as possible. We didn't succeed. We tried, and Trump made it well known that he was going to assassinate the Ayatollah and the government leadership. Now, I am looking at these videos of massive amounts. These are, I would say, hundreds of thousands of people in support of the current government. Somebody needs to send these to Trump because he
won't do any good.
He's sounding like he's insane to think that these people are going to overthrow government buildings. I'm going to just say this on closing. I think there's a possibility that the United States government is overthrown before the Iranian government. What do you think, RJ?
It's a possibility. It'll take a lot to have that happen.
Donald Trump is the kiss of death right now for any Republican that wants to get reelected.
Absolutely.
I mean, if he comes out and endorses somebody, they will lose. They will lose. Here's another update. More explosions are heard over Manama in Bahrain. That's again the U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters, and it's big. These are huge bases. If you go on Google Earth, you can clearly see them. The Al Udeid, I think, is the largest one in the entire Middle East in Qatar. So we will be back if you enjoy this. I think what I'll do for these daily shows for the start of this war is just to be able to get some of the truth out, some possibilities, just so you can kind of have a grip of what's happening. We'll put these out in some podcasts on YouTube, on the daily show Behind the Galley Curtain, if you'd like to go and join us over there. I don't know, it's like $4 a month or something. It's not expensive, but you're going to get the truth just like you're hearing right now. We'll be back tomorrow with more.